All right, so you've talked about simplifying variable expressions. Now let's evaluate variable expressions. Okay, so actually you've already evaluated variable expressions, although they've been equations. So like if you remember, we had things like area equals 1/2 base times height. We had area equals base times height. We've had area equals 1/2 times the height times b1 plus base 2. So those are all formulas, and those formulas had variables in them. On the right-hand side would be our variable expressions, and you've already done that. So things I want to point out, if it's two letters next to each other, okay, two letters next to each other like right here, that means multiplication. So that would be b times h. So if we had a parallelogram, I'll just draw a parallelogram over here, and in that parallelogram, I knew that my height was 6 and my base was 7. We just did area equals 7 times 6, which is 42. It wasn't 76, it was 7 times 6. Okay, so now let's just do some with x's and constant numbers and exponents and see how you do on those. Okay, so let's evaluate -8 plus x squared and -5 plus x all over 6. If you think you know how to do it, go ahead and pause this, try it yourself, and then fast forward till you get the answer. I can see if you know what you're doing. So in this problem, we're going to assume that the x is equal to positive 3. And all I'm going to do when I'm evaluating is I'm going to rewrite my expression, but when I get to the x, I'm going to put the number that is in place of x. So x is supposed to be 3, so it's going to be -8 plus 3 squared. Following your order of operations, just like you're supposed to, that would end up being -8 plus 9, and that answer would be 1. In number 2, this line here, this line right here, that's just a big fraction bar, or it can mean divide, but it's kind of like a parentheses because you're going to have to make sure you do the top first before you go through and divide. So once I substitute my 3 in for x, it's going to give me -5 plus 3. All of that is over 6. That's going to equal -2 over 6. Now, that is a fraction. The numerator is smaller than the denominator. So the only thing I'm really going to do here is just simplify it. -2/6 is the same thing as 1/3, and that's it. I'm not going to worry about getting a decimal or dividing it. We'll just leave it as a fraction if the denominator doesn't go into the numerator. Okay, let's try 2 more. Okay, so for these two expressions, we're going to evaluate as if x is equal to -3. Okay, be careful. Negative and positive numbers, there's a big difference in them. So in number 3, I'm going to substitute this -3 in. That would be -2 plus, now I'm going to put the x in parentheses and then square it. That's really important, especially if you're using a calculator. I would suggest that you not use a calculator because, believe it or not, your brains are smarter than calculators. They only do what you tell it. And so many times we tell it the wrong thing. So if I go through my order of operations, I need to do my exponent first. -3 times -3 is a positive 9. And then -2 plus 9 is going to be a positive 7. In number 4, I'm going to substitute them in. Remember, this is really just a big fraction bar, but it's also like a parentheses in a way because I need to make sure that I simplify the top and the bottom first. So 12 plus -3 all over -3. That is going to give me 9 over -3. Now this time, the 3 does go into 9 a whole number of times, and so it's really like 9 divided by -3, which is -3 is my final answer. Okay, so here's some problems, especially number 5, you will start to see a lot in algebra. I'm going to first substitute the 3 in for the x, so that's going to be 2 times 3 squared plus 5 times 3 minus 3. Remember our order of operations. I can still go through and circle my terms. But order of operations here, guys, I'm going to have to square the 3 first. I don't multiply first, I square first. So that's going to be 2 times 9 plus, now I can do the 5 times 3 because that's all in that one term, and then minus 3. All right, so 2 times 9 is 18, plus 15 minus 3. Remember, I'm going to go left to right. 18 plus 15 is 33. 33 minus 3 is 30, and that would be your final answer. Okay, moving on. Again, you can pause this at any time and try it yourself. In fact, that's what I would suggest. Pause it, try it yourself, and then see if you're right. The next one would be 6 plus 3 parentheses, 2 times 3 minus 11, and then plus 15. So if I am looking at my order of operations, all of this would be one term. And then inside of here, that would be a 6 minus 11, and 6 take away 11 is actually negative 5. So that's going to leave me with 6 plus 3 times negative 5 plus 15, which is 6 plus negative 15 plus 15, and guess what? These guys cancel out, so my final answer here is just 6. Okay, so for this one, my x is negative 3 this time. Okay, it looks similar, but it's a negative. What I would like you to do is definitely try these yourself. Substitute negative 3 in both 7 and 8, pause it, see if you get the right answer. All right, so if I go through now, I'm going to make it 2 times, I'm putting parentheses around negative 3, plus 5 times negative 3 minus 3. Now remember, order of operations, and with inside this one, I need to square it first. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9, so that's a 9, and then 2 times 9 is 18, plus 5 times negative 3 is negative 15, and then minus 3. So going left to right, 18 plus negative 15 is 3, and 3 minus 3 is 0. The last one is going to give me 6 plus 3, and then 2 times negative 3 minus 11 plus 15. Circling my terms so that I don't mess up. Inside of here, 2 times negative 3 is negative 6, minus 11 is going to be negative 17. So now I've got 6 plus. All right, so 3 times negative 17. Here's how I would do that in my head. 3 times 10 is 30. 3 times 7 is 21, so that's going to be negative 51 plus 15. Okay, going left to right, I'm not going to add first. Well, I am, but I'm going to add negative 51. 6 plus negative 51 is going to be negative 45, and negative 45 plus 15 is negative 30. All right, so for the last two, I thought, you know what, let's do something besides x's, because remember, for variables, we can use any letter to represent a number. And in this case, I've got 3 of them at the same time over here. So number 9, A, B, C, there is no plus or minus in there, so that is all multiplication. So that's going to be negative 2 times negative 3 times 4. And so negative 2 times negative 3 is 6. 6 times 4 is 24. And the very last one, negative 9 times negative 2 minus, here's where you got to be careful. It's minus, but then it's a negative 3. Okay, negative 9 times negative 2 is positive 18. And then subtracting a negative, remember, keep, change, is really like adding a positive 3. So 18 plus 3 is 21. Final answer. Okay, hopefully you will go practice some of these yourself.